What's up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 146 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great, continue to be amazing. We got a really awesome show lined up for you today. But first things first, I need you to hit that like button, I need you to hit that subscribe, and I need you to spread the word about Just Give Me 5. All right. Now, if you guys caught episode 145, you saw we had none other than the one and only Mav. And let me tell you, Mav and I go back, I believe it was 2004, 2005. And, like I said, man, he's just always been, a solid MC, man. He had a really great, really great grind. His work ethic was pretty amazing. And everything that he did with Soul Camp was just pretty legendary in the scene. You know what I'm saying? You got Latino MCs that can spit. And, it's always just nice to see that, out here, especially in Arizona. And, yeah, man, just a lot of gems, a lot of great stories that he shared, especially like his upbringing in Chicago and the scene out there. So it was great to have him on here, man, and get him a chance to tell his story. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys watch episode 145. All right. But today's guest has been a huge staple in the Arizona community for many years and definitely deserves his flowers. We're going to talk about his upbringing in Phoenix, some interesting memories from that time, as well as his PhunknFusion clothing line, him getting into media and working with the NFL and the Arizona Cardinals, some memorable moments, what's next, and so much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Hector Primero.
My name is Hector Primero. I'm born and bred in Phoenix, Arizona, and all I'm saying is, just give me 5. So what was Phoenix like growing up for me when I was a kid? So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. I was born at St. Joseph's Hospital, October 7th, 1972, which makes me 51 years old. So I'm in my 50s now. So I've seen a lot of changes go down. But yeah, it was amazing, man. It was an amazing time to be living down here, growing up as a kid. I hear stories that people talk about, saying that in the 70s that downtown Phoenix, wasn't all that great. It was kind of going downhill. I didn't see it that way, man. To me, it was a playground. I loved, living out here. I was skating around, I had my skateboard on my bike. We used to actually ride up and down where the freeway is now. It used to actually be empty lots. There used to be homes there, and I guess Phoenix had all these homes torn down because, they were going to build a freeway, but they didn't build the freeway for a while. So we used to just roll around there all the time. And, so that was a fun time, growing up with my cousins and the neighbors. But what I really remember a lot is hanging out with my family, hanging out with my parents, especially, going over to Cine Capri to watch Star Wars, to watch Grease, going down to the Orpheum Theater, which back then was Palas West. So used to watch a lot of Spanish movies there, Julio Iglesias movies, watching Star Wars, watching actually Empire Strikes Back with my grandmother there, dubbed in Spanish.
Nice.
But going to Legend City, going to Park Central, just all those places, man. I remember Woolsworth, hanging out at the counter, having sandwiches and having milkshakes when my mom was shopping.
Right.
So I remember all those places, and all those places are gone now, and it's kind of sad that the people that were running the city at that time couldn't see that those places were worth holding on to and keeping, and unfortunately they tore them all down. But it was a good time, and another thing I remember too, just came to me right now, is cruising Central with my aunt, with my tias.
Right.
I remember cruising Central as a kid.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun as well, and cruising over at Encanto Park. And seeing Wallace and Ladmo at Encanto Park, seeing Wallace and Ladmo at the State Fair, seeing Wallace and Ladmo at Legend City. So
Man, did you ever get a Ladmo bag?
I unfortunately never got a Ladmo bag, but it's all good. I'm not angry about that, but it was fun, man. Like I was still watching Wallace and Ladmo right up until that very last day, and by then I was already in high school, and I look back at those times, man, and those were good times growing up in Phoenix.
Absolutely, man. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but your family has a family business as well, right?
My family does have a family business here. We've had the business for a very long time. When I was in high school, my mom, just doing a little side hustle, ended up buying 2 tables and 24 chairs. And she started renting those chairs out to all the neighbors out of the house, you know, just to try to make a little extra money. And, you know, it was kind of a hit, man. All the neighbors were, you know, were renting chairs from her all the time. So with all the little money that she made back, she kept buying more and more. Right. At one point, you couldn't even walk in our backyard because we were just full of tables and chairs back there. Right. And, you know, my dad was helping out, my brothers were helping out, my sister, all of us, you know, be out in the alleyway loading up trucks, man, loading up cars, you know, getting chairs and tables. Because everybody on the west side knew that we rented out tables and chairs, so they would show up to rent them for every weekend. But the business ended up taking off, and I mean, it did so well that they ended up getting their own store, and it's called Primero Fiesta Rentals. And it's been in business now for over 30 plus years, man, and, you know, very successful. My parents they're now actually approaching 80. Still doing it, still there. My brother's still there too, man. He's still helping them run it, you know, and God bless him, man, because, you know, it's a lot of work, and he's dedicated his life to, you know, to helping the family, and, you know, family's number one, man, and, you know, so yeah, he's still there doing his thing with my parents. So, you know, make sure you stop by and say hi.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And then do you ever every now and then kind of roll by there and help out a little bit when you can?
So every once in a while, I go by to visit my mom, you know, take some coffee, take some pan dulce just to hang out and catch up. And next thing you know, man, I'm sitting there loading tables and chairs. And I haven't worked there in years. I actually worked at one point, but I haven't worked there in a long time. I left there a long time ago. But yeah, anytime I go to visit, there's always a chance I'm gonna end up working. And, you know, and I have people that pull up that know me, and they're like, I didn't know you work here again. I'm like, nah, man, I'm just here visiting. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta help the family out. So how did PhunknFusion come to life for me? So I got to go back a little bit, because in 1991 I graduated high school, started going to Phoenix College. Right after that I ended up going to ASU as well, to Arizona State University. So my thing that I wanted to go to school for is I wanted to learn graphic arts. Gotcha. I had intended to design album covers, is what I wanted to do. Okay. Not knowing that, you know, after a while, album covers were going to kind of go away because it would turn into MP3s, and you really didn't have many covers anymore. But, you know, that was just what ended up happening, man. Things evolved. Yeah. But I ended up learning how to do some graphic arts, and eventually I ended up dropping out of school, man. It just got so expensive. I was paying for school on my own, so I ended up working for Bank of America. Working at Bank of America, I knew I didn't want to do that for a long time. I knew that wasn't my thing. Yeah. You know, I really wanted to be in arts. I really wanted to be in music. I wanted to be involved in something like that. Yeah. So there was one day I was watching it was a interview. I think I want to say it was on MTV. Could have even been on Arsenio Hall, man. I'm throwing things back here. Could have been Arsenio Hall. Right. But yeah, man, I saw the creator of Fat Farm on there. Russell Simmons, you know, talking about how he had started his label, how he discovered Run DMC, how he discovered the Beastie Boys, and they started talking about his clothing line, Fat Farm, and it got me going, man. That I was like, hey, man, like maybe I should be doing something like that. Yeah. So I ended up, you know, trying to come up with the name, trying to figure out how to do it, you know, trying to figure out, you know, something that would stick, something that was catchy. And one day I was listening to Us Three, Cantaloupe. And just listening to the song, I like the song, but listening to the song, there's a point in the song where they say PhunknFusion. And I don't know, man, something about it just kept sticking. So wrote it down. I was working at the bank. I remember writing it down. I actually still got the piece of paper, I think, somewhere, you know, in my personal things. But I wrote it down. I was like, that's kind of cool. Maybe if I, you know, spell it a little different. And as I was trying to come up with a different spelling, I decided, you know what, why don't I drop the F, put in PH. And I was thinking of a local band that played here for years, local legends, the Funk Junkies. Absolutely. One of my favorites. Yeah, so and yeah, so I went ahead and put the PH in there as an ode to them, because I love those guys. Right. And yeah, man, that's how I came up with PhunknFusion. So I was like, all right, we got that. Now we got to come up with a logo. So I called up my friend Carlos Sanchez, you know, boyhood, one of my best friends growing up. And, you know, kind of told him what I was doing. He was doing some tattoos at the time, designing tattoos. He eventually went on to do stuff with Lucasfilm. So, I mean, I'm proud of my boy. He did some good things. Right. But, yeah, he helped me out, came up with the logo. And, yeah, man, we just, we went from there. Then after we came up with the logo, we were like, all right, we got to print up T-shirts. Yeah. I didn't really have money to print up T-shirts, but I had an idea that I wanted to learn how to print T-shirts. I'd kind of learned a little bit when I was in grade school. And we knew, me and Carlos had a mutual friend of ours that was selling a 4-color press. And hit him up, told him I was interested in buying it. Gave me a good deal, bought it, took it home. Went and got some books out of the library. You know, couldn't jump on Google at the time. The internet was very, you know, was very new, and started reading, man, and just started practicing and printing up T-shirts. And eventually, the logo that we had, we printed up that logo and came up with a few other designs, printed those up, and yeah, man, it just kind of took off for me that way. And you know, I knew that there was a lot of different companies, a lot of T-shirt companies out there that were focused on, you know, the urban hip hop and all that.
Yeah.
At the time, though, I was a house head. I mean, I love hip hop. I grew up on hip hop,
Yeah.
but I loved house music, man. I was hanging out with Pete Salas. I was hanging out with DJ Sinbad, 2 others you've had on the show. And yeah, man, you know, I was hanging out with those guys, so I was really getting influenced by house music, and I felt like, you know what, house music doesn't have an identity. So I decided, you know what, we're going to gear this towards house music. And we started pushing it at some of the shows that the guys were doing. They were doing, Pete was doing Red Monkey at the time.
Yeah.
Solstice was still coming up later,
Right.
but Batucada was going on at the time. So I started pushing it and selling my T-shirts there. Started getting the DJs to wear it. You know, eventually some of the bigger DJs, some of the better known DJs from LA and, you know, from New York City, Little Louis Vega, Marcus Wyatt, you know, some of those DJs started wearing it.
Yeah.
DJ Jazzy Jeff, you know, he's a house head. He's a hip hop head, but he's also a house head. You know, he started rocking it, and it kind of took off, man. And there was a time where I actually used to go out to Miami to Winter Music Conference, and you know, I'd go out there to sell T-shirts. I'd show up with a backpack full of T-shirts, and on the streets, man, I'd be selling T-shirts, just pushing it. You know, going to the nightclubs, selling T-shirts. I would literally go to Winter Music Conference, I don't know, almost every year for about 4 or 5 years, with $200 in my pocket. I'd come home with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, man. Nice. You know, we'd make that kind of money, and it was doing really well, man. And you know, I enjoyed it. Met a lot of people. You know, I was kind of living a dream, to be honest with you. Right. But yeah, it was a good time in my life, man. And you know, eventually I ended up, you know, I kind of say I grew up a little bit and kind of stopped doing it because I had other things that took off for me. Yeah. But you know, I miss it, and you know, a lot of people have been asking me if I'm ever going to bring it back, and there's probably a chance you're probably going to see something soon, man. So. So what inspired me to get into film? This is a crazy story, man. It happened with a phone call, like literally. And there's been a few times in my life that I've gotten a phone call that just changed my life, and this was one of them. I had a really good friend of mine, my friend Alex Segala. He was in town. He lived in LA. He was working in film at the time. He was actually working doing reality shows. Called me up one day. He knew I knew a lot of people, man. You know, he used to call me the mayor and stuff, and other people called me the mayor because I just knew so many people. I grew up downtown, and I grew up on the west side, but I knew a lot of people. Yeah. So he hit me up asking basically like, hey, man, I'm trying to crew up. Do you know anybody that does camera work, lighting, sound, whatever, you know? And, you know, I hooked him up some names, and, you know, I mentioned to him, I was like, hey, man, like, is there something for me? And he's like, I can get you in as a production assistant. And I'm like, okay, what does a production assistant do? And he's like, yo, man, he's like, I can get you in. He goes, but you're gonna be on the bottom. Like, seriously, he's like, you're gonna be like a gopher. You know, go for this, go for that, go grab me coffee, grab me lunch. He's like, if you're up to it, man, he goes, it's 6 weeks of work. And he's like, but, you know, it's up to you. And I was like, you know what, let's do it. And yeah, so started off that way. Ended up interviewing with the line producer. Line producer was great. She hired me right on the spot. And yeah, man, I went in with the mentality that I was going to turn this into another job, was what my mentality was. I was like, I needed something at the time. Yeah. I needed a career, man. At that time, I was already in my mid-30s, right. And I was looking around, and my friends are getting married, having kids, right. Buying homes, and here I was still kind of having fun, man. You know, I hadn't really grown up all the way yet, so I knew I needed a career. Wasn't going to go back to school, you know, couldn't afford it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to turn this into something. So I went in on that job. It was a 6-week-long job, and I worked my butt off, man. Like, I really put a lot of work into it. Yeah. You know, I did everything they asked me, and I did more. And at the end of that job, the line producer, who ended up turning into a good friend of mine later, you know, she came up to me at lunch. I remember that last week, and she was like, hey, she's like, would you ever come out to LA if I called you to work? I was like, heck yeah. She goes, do you have a place to stay? I'm like, oh yeah, I know a lot of people in LA. She's like, all right. She goes, I'm gonna call you. A month later, she calls me up, says she's got a show coming up. It's a VH1 show, reality show. And she's like, you interested? I'm like, let's do it. So a month later, I was out there working on a show for VH1. Did that one. That was another 6 weeks. That one turned into another job. Next job was, I think, Lifetime television reality show. Did that one. Another job came up. Right. And then another one. It just kept going, man. So I was out in LA. I was out in LA at that time, probably 5, 6 months. Came home. you know, when I came home, I already had, you know, I'd met some people that were in the industry, reached out to them, told them I was here. Was there any work available? They're like, yeah, put me on some commercials. You know, next thing I know, man, it's like I'm going between Phoenix and LA, back and forth, working on shows, working on reality shows, working on commercials.
Right.
You know, eventually I started doing movies, you know, ended up doing some feature films, and it just kind of kept going, man. And, you know, I got really busy for a few years, and eventually I had to move to LA because the majority of the work was there.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do the drive anymore. So I ended up moving out to LA, was out there for a couple of years, just, you know, just working my butt off, sleeping on a lot of couches, man.
Right.
At your mid 30s, man, that's the one thing you don't want to do. You want to be established and have your own place. And here I was sleeping on couches, man. And I am so grateful, man, to the people that, you know, let me stay with them. And, you know, I had friends that didn't even charge me rent, man.
Right.
They knew that I was trying to make it, and they knew that I was honest about what I was trying to do, and they gave me an opportunity, man. And, you know, I'm grateful to those people, and, you know, and I'm grateful to my friend Alex and my friend Jessica that opened up the doors for me. But that's how I got into the business.
Nice, man. What do you remember some of the movies you were working on?
Yeah, so I did a Lifetime series. It was called Maneater. It was a 3 or 4 part series. We actually filmed it here. So I
Okay.
did that. It was with Sarah Chalk from Scrubs,
Yes.
Maria Conchita Alonso. It was with her. Who else was it? Judy Greer, who, if you see Judy's in just about every, you know, she's always like the second lead actress in just all kinds of shows and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But I did that one. Did a couple other smaller movies that were on like a Sci-Fi Channel and A&E and stuff. But the biggest one I ended up doing is I ended up working on Fast and the Furious 5.
Nice.
Yeah, I was part of the train unit. So it wasn't with the actual actors. It wasn't with, you know, Vin Diesel and, you know, and all the other guys.
Yeah.
But it was, if you watch the movie, there's a big scene where it starts off where you got a train going through the desert, and, you know, they're stealing cars out of the train and just like all kinds of stuff. It was like a big stunt thing.
Right.
But it was like it was a month-long shoot, and I had a friend of mine that had been on it, and he needed to get replaced, so I ended up replacing him, jumped on that. And yeah, I was out there for a few weeks out in the middle of the desert in July, 120 degrees every day, man. Like, it was super hot. But it was an experience, man, that, you know, I'll never forget. And, you know, to see that movie, you know, in the theater was just awesome to see. But yeah, that was one of the ones I did. And I could have done other ones, man, but I got to be honest with you, by the time that was over, I was like, I'm cool doing movies, man. I'll stick to commercials. I'll stick to something that's only going to be, you know, 2-3 days long, or maybe I'll do a, you know, TV show or something. You know, movies are an amazing thing to experience, to work on, because it's like a well-oiled machine, man, the way they work, you know. But also, man, it takes you away from your family, man. You can be shooting, you know, 45, 65, you know, 100 days. And, you know, a lot of things happen sometimes. And, you know, to try to get away from work, you know, it's really hard. So I decided to step away from movies and just focus on commercials.
Nice, man. And then, gosh, and then from there, you know, you made the transition into the NFL. Sports. How did that happen?
Sports. I'm a big sports fan. I love the Suns. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
I love the Cardinals,
Right.
you know, I love the Diamondbacks, love the Coyotes. I love everything and anything Arizona sports, man.
Absolutely.
Maybe not U of A, but, you know,
Right,
but Tucson's cool. Tucson's cool, so, you know, they're all right. You know,
Draw the line somewhere, right?
the Wildcats are okay, man, you know, but I'm a Sun Devil, so. But nah, man, so that also started with another phone call.
Okay.
So one day I got a phone call from my friend Von Scott. My buddy calls me up and basically asked me, like, hey, man, would you be interested in working as a runner for the 2014 season with NFL Films and the Arizona Cardinals? And I was like, sure, man. I'm like, you know, what am I doing exactly? He goes, basically, man, he goes, you're going to be working on the sideline. He goes, you're going to be assisting the camera guys. He goes, every quarter they're going to break cards. You know, they're going to give you the card. It's going to be full of footage. You bring it back to me. I offload the media. You go back out there. You hang out. You just assist them with whatever they need. That's it. And I was like, really? I'm like, dude, I'm in. He goes, hold on. He goes, I got to let you know, man, it only pays $50. And I was like, and? He's like, are you good with that? And I was like, dude, $50? I'm like, you mean I get to go to the football game? I get to be on the sideline. Let's see here. I get the best seat in the house, basically. I'm on the sideline watching it all.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting fed. I'm watching football, and I'm still going home with $50 in my pocket. I was like, count me in, man. I'm in. You know, and he was like, all right, you're hired, man. Again, that was one of those where I was like, my thought was like, I know that 2015's coming up, and that's going to be the Super Bowl here in Phoenix. I'm like, I got to turn this into a job at the Super Bowl. I want to work at the Super Bowl. So let me see what I can do. Maybe I can turn this into something else. That was my mentality, that, you know, there's other opportunities. So just take the $50, do the best job you can do, just be a badass, and hopefully they notice. And dude, I had so much fun, man. That first time on the sideline was scarier than shit, man, because you got action going on, players running in on the sideline. It's scary, man.
Right.
But, but I was there doing my thing and helping the camera guys. And the one thing I did is that normally a lot of the runners, they just kind of have them sit to the side. Quarter's over, he comes up to the cameraman, gets the card, go. Me, I showed up with my backpack. I showed up with some water. I showed up with some snacks. I had all my stuff just in case my cameraman needed anything. And I kept following up and down the sideline. So whenever he turned his head, I'm like, hey man, what do you need? Anything you need? He's like, oh no, I'm good, man, but hey, thanks. I'm like, here's water, here's some snacks or whatever. And at the end of that first game, a cameraman was like, hey man, like, what do you do? And I'm like, he's like, yeah, like, what do you do for a living? I was like, I freelance, I actually do this. He's like, really? He goes, you're really good, man. He goes, I just noticed it. He's like, you're really good at what you do, you anticipate. He's like, he goes, if you don't mind, every time I come to Phoenix, I'm gonna ask for you, man. He goes, I really want you to, I want to work with you. I was like, cool, man. He's like, yeah, he goes, I'm gonna let the other camera guys know. So that entire season, man, every cameraman that would come into town, if it wasn't him, would ask for me. So I kept getting work. Playoffs came, we didn't make the playoffs, but we had the Super Bowl. We had the Pro Bowl show up. They called me for it. I got hired. That first day, Super Bowl morning, there's always a big breakfast that they have with NFL Films. I showed up to grab my T-shirt, my credential. As I told the girl what my name was, the girl was like, Hector. She's, wait a minute. She goes, I heard your name all season long. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. She's like, yeah. She goes, I heard a lot about you. She goes, so tell me, like, what do you do? And again, told her I'm in the business and everything. She's like, okay. She goes, I got some people you got to meet. So she introduced me to a few other people there, and just talking to them, they were like, hey, would you be interested in working in anything with us in the future? I was like, yeah, man, for sure. So they're like, all right, we're going to call you, just be on the lookout. So the following season came up, 2015, I got a call. Yeah. And they asked me, hey, would you be interested in working on this? We think it's going to be a show. We're not sure. We've never done this before, but it's going to be a show with the Arizona Cardinals, kind of like Hard Knocks. We're filming the team for the entire season, except we don't really have a name for the show. We don't really know where we're going to distribute it at. We don't even know if it's going to happen, because if the team isn't doing very well, they probably won't want us to document that. But we're going to go in, we're going to follow the team. They're not going to know that we're NFL Films. They're just going to think we're part of the Arizona Cardinals film crew. And, so we're going to be kind of under disguise. But, wanted to see if I was interested. I was like, heck yeah, count me in. Yeah. So I went in there, man, my first day, I got hired as a production assistant again. Yeah. I walked in and I went up to the director and I told the director, I was like, hey man, like, I can get you lunch, I can get you coffee, I can do whatever you need me to do. Just letting you know, man, is I can do a lot more. I can do a lot more. I got a lot of experience, and whatever I don't know, if you show me what to do, I'll learn it and I will do whatever you ask. And he was like, all right, good to know. By that second week, one of the cameramen that I was working with, I knew him from the season before, sat me down and was like, hey man, he's like, do you know how to offload media? I was like, nah, I never done it. He's like, I'm gonna show you how to do it. So he sat me down, showed me how to do it. And he's like, all right, that's your job now. You're gonna be doing that and helping us out on the field. So I'd go out on the field during practice, watch these guys practice, help the guys change out lenses, do whatever they needed me to do, helping them, carry their gear, which was really cool, because normally on a film set or, even commercials, like, production assistants don't touch that stuff. That's camera, you don't mess with that. But they had trusted me, and, they were letting me do a lot of things, and they were showing me how the cameras ran. So I was helping them with that during the season. Eventually, they just noticed that I could do a lot more, and, they had me doing robo cameras. So I started running robo cameras, because we had cameras set up in all the rooms. Right. And, we would switch out, every week we would switch out all our crew, the camera guys, the sound people, the directors would switch out, because, could only stay here for a few days and then have to keep, have to move on. But I was there every single day. It got to the point that I think November came around, and I got a call, and they're like, hey man, you got to take a day off. And I was like, really, why? And they're like, because we're going to burn you out. Like, we know you're there. You're an asset to us, but we need you, man. So you need to take a day off. Yeah. And I was like, hey, man, I'm just loving it. I'm learning. So I was like, I feel like I'm in school and just loving it. The team was doing really good. So I was there just working, man, working away. And that season, it was a great season. By the time we got to the end of the season, I was already traveling with them also, going to different cities. And, I went from a production assistant to suddenly being a valuable member of the crew. And it was cool, man, because, I felt like I was with them even. I wasn't, I wasn't down here. I was up here with those guys. Right. I was an asset to them, like they had said. Yeah. So, yeah, we ended up doing playoffs, went out on the road. That season, the Cardinals almost made it to the championship, man. They were one win away. They lost in Carolina. I was there. Yeah. and it hurt, man, that they lost. You know, my lady, I remember calling me, and she was like, "I'm so sorry," and I was like, "Tell her," I was like, "I felt like you just broke up with me and left me. That's how much it hurt." But you know, it was one of those things. It was really cool. It was a cool experience because I got to fly out with the team out there on their plane. You know, so that was really cool to do. But yeah, the show ended, man. You know, had a good relationship with all these guys, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're part of us now. You're gonna be working a lot. We're gonna put you to work. You know, next couple seasons, whatever." So I was like, "All right, I'm looking forward to it." So that ends. The show gets picked up. They give it a name, All or Nothing, with the Arizona Cardinals. First time a team's ever been documented for an entire season. So we were like a first. You know, we have the premiere out in LA. I get flown out to LA, go do that, you know, get to walk the red carpet, meet up with all, you know, with all my friends at NFL Films. We do that whole thing. And then the show gets nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, man.
And it's like, damn. I'm like, the show's nominated for an Emmy. I'm like, I get to say that I worked on a show that was nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah.
So then the Emmys come up. The Emmys come up, and, you know, here I am. I'm just like excited about it. Like, you know, hopefully we win. And yeah, man, like I ended up watching the Emmys at home. I didn't get to go, unfortunately, but I ended up watching the Emmys at home, and we freaking won.
Yeah, man.
You know, the show won an Emmy, man. We won it was for sports documentary, and we won a freaking Emmy. And I was so excited. I was so happy. I get to say I worked on a show that won an Emmy. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call from my director-producer. Calls me up, congratulates me, tells me, "Hey, man, congratulations on winning an Emmy." I'm like, "Yo, we won an Emmy." He's like, "I know, man." He goes, "We won an Emmy, but you won an Emmy too." And I was like, "Cool, man, I'm just happy." He's like, "No, man." He goes, "You won an Emmy, like you're getting a trophy." And I'm like, "You serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." I'm like, you know, but I thought, you know, because, you know, so I freelance. So, you know, I'm not a permanent hire with NFL Films, but I'm a contract worker. And I've been like that with them since the beginning. So, you know, I work with them, they give me a lot of work, but I'm not full-time with them. And usually when things come up like this with awards, contract workers don't get Emmys, don't get the awards. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is, you know? So, you know, so when he tells me this, I'm surprised. I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "You're gonna get one, trust me." I'm like, "All right, well, we'll see if that ever happens." A month later, he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, man," he goes, "so basically," he goes, "this is the deal." He goes, "Because you're a contract worker, because, you know, you're not full-time with us, you know, you're not eligible for an Emmy." And I was like, "It's all good, man. I'm happy with it anyways. I'm good." He's like, "Here's the thing, though." He's like, "We all talked about it, and if you're not getting an Emmy, we don't want ours."
Wow, man.
Yeah. My friend Steve Trout, man. That's my director, my producer, a good friend of mine. You know, I love that man. But yeah, man, he went to bat for me. He was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "If you're not getting one, we're not getting one, so you're gonna get one." I ended up getting an Emmy, man.
Oh, that's great.
And it was crazy because, again, man, like this business, you know, this industry, it's cutthroat, man. Like I've seen some really bad things. I've seen some great things, you know, so just, you know, it's just a crazy, crazy business. And here I am, I got involved with NFL Films, and they changed my life, man. Like, you know, I won an Emmy. It's like me. I went to Carl Hayden High School, you know, went to Carl Hayden, went to Metro Tech, grew up downtown, grew up on the west side, 35th, you know, 35th Avenue, man. And, you know, be dodging bullets, man, when I was in high school, like going to backyard parties. And I actually got a freaking Emmy. And it's, you know, it means a lot to me because, you know, I never expected it. I never even went for it. You know, I did a great job working on the show because it meant a lot to me. And I just wanted to show them that I can do it. And, you know, for me to win something like this, you know, and it's wild because I got friends that got 3, 4, 5, 10 Emmys, man, you know. But for me to just get one was just, it blew me away, man. Because again, like I said, you know, a kid like me, you know, from West Side, you know, I'd never expected that. And I always tell people, man, is that I feel like I'm living somebody else's dream. Like seriously, because growing up, man, there was no way, I never dreamt that I could do something like this because it was never out there for me. You know, my thing was like, you know, my parents just wanted me to go to school, graduate, get a good job, and that was it. And that was it, man. Go work at the post office, go work for Honeywell, something like that. That's great. That's succeeding. So to do this, I never even dreamt about it, man. I didn't even know that it was possible. And I freaking won an Emmy.
You know, and absolutely, and not only that, but that speaks a lot. It speaks volumes on your character and your talent for them to say for Steve Trout to tell you that.
Yeah, Nah,
You know what
for
I'm
sure,
saying? Like,
man.
you know, we're riding with you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah, and and since then, man, I've actually just got done. We worked on another show last season. I've done a bunch of shows with them, and yeah, we just got another show that we did that was on Netflix. It was a quarterback, and I just got nominated for an Emmy. So I won't get a trophy for that one. I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
But
man.
I've done a few different shows that have been nominated and have won, and it's just great because at least I can say I worked on that, man. So I do need another statue though, because the sister needs another sister, needs a sibling. So it'd be nice to have another one. But I'm good with the one I have, man. It's like it's a family heirloom now, and and I still look at it sometimes. Every once in a while, I pick it up, and it's heavy, and I'm like, damn, like. I can't believe we got this, man. Like, it's just crazy, man. So, yeah, man. NFL Films, man. That's my family. I love those guys. So what's up for me? What's up for me next coming up here? So I'm going to continue doing all the commercials, working with NFL Films. I do some stuff with the NBA, with the Phoenix Suns as well. But, yeah, still doing all that stuff. With this new year, I started kind of looking back at my past, and I'm going to go back into doing some PhunknFusion stuff. Maybe break out the T-shirt or two. I miss screen printing, so I'm looking into maybe getting back into that.
Okay.
I'm actually going back into my photography. I've done some photography over the years, and I just pulled out my camera recently, went out and shot some pictures and had a bunch of fun. So I think I'm going to be going back into that as well. But yeah, man, just living and just keeping busy, man. That's what I do. How does it feel to know that I'm special and be extremely loved? I don't know, am I loved? No, man, it feels amazing. I mean, you get what you give, man. So, I hope that I've given, the same amount of love that I've gotten back. I hope I've given that to people. But no, it means a lot, man, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I think now that I've gotten older too, at 51, when you're younger, you lose relatives, you lose grandma, you lose grandpa and stuff. But now that I'm getting to my age, now I'm starting to lose people that I grew up with, people that are my age. And over the last year, man, I've kind of gotten into this thing where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna start telling my friends, that I love them. Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with a grown man telling another grown man he loves them. It's like, I've been with, I've actually, had dates with friends where I was supposed to go out and grab dinner with a friend of mine, and the day before we were going to go out to dinner, he ended up passing away. I had another friend, same thing. We were going to go grab some concert tickets, and next morning he had passed away, had a heart attack, unfortunately. And I just, I think about like, man, I wish I had just told them, that I loved them and what they meant to me. So you know what? Every time I see my friends, I'm gonna tell them I love them, man, because you never know when it might be the last time. So Dave Brand, I love you.
Love you too, brother.
All right, guys. So again, my name is Hector Primero, born and bred in Phoenix, Arizona, and support all your local businesses, support all your local artists, support all the local DJs, musicians, everybody. Think Phoenix, man. We coming up. So I'm out of here. Just want to say thank you, and just give me 5.
And there you have it, man. Shout out to the homie Hector. So we've been trying to make this happen for quite some time now. I got to give a shout out to my bro DJ Big Surge, God rest his soul. Probably about 2 weeks before he passed, he hit me up and was like, yo, I got a suggestion for you as far as a guest goes for your show. And I was like, yeah, man, like who do you got in mind? And he was like, Hector Primero. And I was like, word. And he was like, I was like, PhunknFusion. And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, and everything he's doing with the Cardinals, in the NFL. And I was like, yo, that would be an amazing situation. And Hector was like the only person that he suggested to me. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like this episode was just it puts a little extra sauce on it. You know what I mean? It's it's kind of like in honor of Surge as well. Yeah, we were just so happy to make this happen. Hector has been, a true gem to the community, man. All throughout these years, and everything that he's doing now with the NFL, and the Cardinals. It's just awesome, you know what I mean? And we're just so happy to have you on this platform, my brother. Get you a chance to tell your story, and really just give you your flowers, man, and show you that you were appreciated. And we just wish you nothing but the best over here. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you guys are following him on social media. And shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Well, this was definitely one for the books. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, though. Till next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.
Everything you get, you got